Yes, so welcome agents. We are very excited to have Cari Briner here. She is a real estate leader and she was actually featured in Business Insider as a top innovative business coach. She owns a company called Achieve Freedom Coaching, and she is here to teach us so many things that are going to help our business this year. Welcome, Cari.
Hi, thank you guys. Thanks for having me, Mariah and Jennifer. Super excited to be here. I love pouring into agents and leaders and broker owners and team leaders and all the people in this industry. I've been blessed by the real estate industry in a lot of ways. I've also learned that it can be a bit challenging to be a real estate entrepreneur, and so I'm 46 years old and I've been in real estate now half my life. So that's always an interesting concept to realize that I could, first of all, be anything for half my life. But, real estate literally is my only career outside of about a 6-month stint in corporate America. And so I've been through lots of different ups and downs and challenges and growth, as a human being alongside an entrepreneur. And every time I kind of share some of my insights and my stories, I have people reach out and say that sounds like me. I've been through that too. And I just think it's always really good to, to have that collaboration and those perspectives from different people, because we all know that there's really no secrets in real estate. There's really no secrets in business. The difference between people succeeding or not succeeding, or staying in a career, or, rising up through it or not, is really more about ourselves and our own growth or lack thereof. And so that has just been a mission I've been on. And so I actually had a national coaching company, Mariah, like you mentioned, Achieve Freedom Coaching. Actually sold that about 1.5 years ago. And really now what I do is I do private coaching still, and I do a lot of speaking events like this. And then I just have gained partners across the country that instead of just being a coach to them, I really want to be a partner in their growth of their personal life. I've just found that as I've gotten older, I think, and just more specific in what I find joy in, it really is just the relationships of the people that I know. And however I can wake up every day supporting them is really what I find joy in. And I'm hoping the last decade here and this last quarter of my career can be just doing that. And that's I'm putting it out there to the universe so that I continue to be able to do it. So thank you guys for having me here, and hopefully it'll bring some value. If you guys want me to go ahead, I can just share my screen, and I'm going to get into a couple of things, but I want it to be interactional. So if those of you that are live want to add things, have questions, I'll watch the chat box, and I'll also leave space for conversation. And if you guys see anything in the Facebook group with any chatting, of course, just stop me. I'm very informal, and I just like to use a PowerPoint simply for the fact that if I don't, I really can tend to be super scattered and talk about all the things. And then all of a sudden we go, oh, wait, Cari, your time is up, and I didn't get to anything I really wanted to get to. That's just my personality. So let me get this into more of a mode of which I can, I always forget PowerPoint. Hold on, slideshow. Here we go. Or not, never mind. Let's just do this. Okay. Can you guys see the screen okay, Mariah or Jennifer? Yes. I want to make sure. Okay, cool. So just a little bit of information about me. If you guys want to find me, just go ahead and Google me. You'll find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, anywhere probably that if you just type my name in. So I'm not a secret coach or agent or leader. You can find me. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me if there's anything that you hear today that I could maybe help you with. I always offer a free call, no strings attached. I just want you to feel comfortable reaching out. If there is something I've said today that really you need to talk about, I would love to have the opportunity to talk with you about it. So the first thing I always like to start this conversation out about is, first and foremost, I think that this is the secret weapon. If people are looking for the magic pill or the secret weapon in building a real estate business or any sort of business that you're trying to build, I really believe as a business owner that you have to be able to separate yourself from your business. And the problem with that philosophy is that as a real estate entrepreneur or a real estate investor or a small business owner of any sort, oftentimes when you start your business, you are your brand. You are the business. You wear all the hats. You do all the things because you're starting it. So usually when we start a business, we don't have a bunch of people joining us at the forefront. At least in real estate, you're a solo agent. You build your brand. Your customer service is what people come to know, like, and trust. Your social media presence is, how you build your database. And so it's natural that we feel like our business is us and vice versa. It's actually quite common, and it is the subconscious mind that kind of is the one that is going to attach that role that we play and that identity that we take on. And the problem with that, or the challenge that poses, and I see this with most entrepreneurs, is that you start to over-identify with the role you play as a real estate entrepreneur, a real estate investor, a team leader, a broker owner, a real estate coach, a business owner of some sort. Whatever role you play, you start to see it as who you are. You're too closely connected to it. Therefore, you're going to really, really closely connect it to the successes and the failures. And the egoic part of your mind is going to then kick in, because remember, the egoic part of our mind, just to lay a foundation, and I've been a student of this for many years, is we live about 80% of our lives in a subconscious state. We are not making active decisions or choices. We're doing things, we're answering questions, we're making moves, and we aren't actually making an active decision. We're just listening to our subconscious mind and we're doing it. The subconscious mind, initially, when human beings were first on earth, was created to protect us from physical harm, because most of us at that time actually were in physical danger every time we walked outside to go hunt or gather, right? To live. We were actually in imminent danger. Thankfully, most of us are not in that situation today. And now what has happened is that egoic part of our mind has evolved over time, and it now keeps us safe from psychological danger. We all want to look good and be right. That's just the reality. Whether we like to admit it or not, it does not feel good to be wrong, and it does not feel good to look bad. It doesn't feel good to be embarrassed, to fail, to feel like we are less than or not worthy. And that is really where our subconscious mind now focuses. So if you start over-identifying with the successes and the failures of your business or your investments or your team or whatever this is, you are now not going to do the things that you need to do to actually take risks, to proceed forward, to make that phone call, to reach out to that person, to make that move, because it's far too risky, because it's not about your business anymore. It's about you as a human being. And when you're too closely connected to this, I believe it is the number one thing that holds people back from actually reaching their fullest potential in business. So when people come to me and say, I need to learn more about how to lead a team, I need to be a better leader, I need to learn how to get more leads, I need to learn how to analyze properties, I need to learn these things in order to take my business to the next level. That may be true, but we all have access to the same information, and we could find it, and we've probably been taught it. The challenge is not that we don't know what to do, it's that we're not doing it. And it fundamentally comes down to this, which is that we won't do it because we're over-identified with the role that we play or the business or the financial success or failure of what we're doing. When I talk about this to people, I almost inevitably get multiple people to reach out to me to say, oh my gosh, that's it. I do know what to do. I absolutely do not do it. I didn't know why I wasn't doing it. And I mean, I knew it was fear-based, or I knew, I'm making excuses. I know I'm destined to do more in business, and yet I'm not. This could be it. And so we start talking about it. And if you're questioning, is this it or not, I would just ask you to remove business a little bit out of this and just think about a couple other roles that you play. If you're a parent, if you're a significant other, if your parents are still living, if you're a volunteer, if you're a member of your church and you're highly active in this, think about any of these roles that you play as a human being on this earth. And think of times where, something happened in that relationship or in that world that you just attached to so strongly, even though it really had nothing to do with you. And I think parenting is the first one. I have 4 boys between the ages of 18 and 25. And when I look at this and I say, okay, you've got this desire for your child, you see something in them and you think that their path is this. And you have this idea that I'm a good parent if my child succeeds in this way. And then they decide they have their own path and they're going to go completely the opposite direction. And you actually feel like a failure as a parent. And the reality is that's not you. It was a role that you played, and now they have their own life that they need to go forth in. It has nothing to do with you. You did your part. And therefore you have to be able to detach from that. Otherwise you will, number one, ruin the relationship. But number two, you're going to now feel differently about yourself because you think you're a failure. If you have other children coming up underneath that child, how do you show up as a parent for them? And I've actually seen this in real life scenarios, and I have been one of those people. So I just bring that up as something a little bit different because most people go, oh yeah, okay, I get what you're saying because I've had that feeling before as a parent. It's the same thing in business, even if you haven't actually identified or connected the dots yet. This could be the one thing that you change in 2023 that could literally change the face of your business. Because if you can get yourself to do the things you know you need to do, it's game over. Because we all have the ability to succeed just like everybody else does. We're just not doing it. So just this concept of you are not your business, despite oftentimes being so closely connected to it and being able to separate the two, reaching your fullest potential is that, think about it this way. What would you do differently in your business in 2023 versus last year if you literally didn't care what happened to it? Like if you literally just said, you know what, if it crumbles to the ground, like it does, I can rebuild it. I've done that before. I've built this. Like, what if you could just say, it doesn't really matter. I'm happy as a human being. I've got an awesome family. I've got great children. I have great supporters. I am smart. I am worthy. I have a good life and I believe in myself no matter what. And if this happens to just like go sideways, I'm still okay. I'm still who I am. Nothing changes for me. I just have to figure out then how to rebuild it or go do something different. And actually, what if that was supposed to be the path? What if I was supposed to build this so it crumbled, so I learned something different, so I went off in a different direction because that was actually what I was supposed to be doing. And this is what prepared me for that. Like, what if you actually believed that? Not just said it, but believed it. Because I've actually talked to people when they had that fundamental moment where they had worked on themselves so much and they had so much self-confidence and trust and just joy and satisfaction in who they are and who they had become and their relationships and their life, that they honestly just kind of went, business is business. Like, who really cares? I'm going to do my best, but I'm going to try everything and I'm going to go for it. And they literally had never been the same before. And they reached the top of the top, that they never even knew they could. And it was that fundamental idea that they no longer hold themselves back, that they go for it and they will see what their fullest potential is because they honestly just don't care anymore. And when I say don't care, that doesn't mean that they're not trying their best and they don't want it to succeed. It just means they've resolved the fact that if it does, it's no big deal because that's another opportunity for them. This all, by the way, as you can tell, stems from a mindset. But people have heard mindset a lot. I mean, how many of you have heard, 90% of your business is your mindset? Well, of course, we've all heard it. And I think we all believe it. But what does that even mean? I believe taking this to a different level and actually understanding our mind and realizing that we have control. We can choose how to feel about something and what to decide. And we can detach from these thoughts that hold us back. And we can understand that this battle with our mind is a battle we might have to go into every single day to some degree. But if we're prepared for that, the sky truly is the limit. That's when the mindset conversation clicked with me, because I get positivity. I get putting it out there. I'm a big visualization person. I mean, I played at college sports. I would see myself winning the game, shooting the free throws and making them. Like, I'm a big visualization person, and I've always done it in business. I get it. But when I started to hear this stuff, this is what made the difference. Because even though you can visualize it and you can have a vision board and you can put it out there and you can tell yourself you're going to do these things, if you still don't get what's happening subconsciously in your mind that's holding you back, it won't matter. You have to be okay with the failing forward and not just say I'm failing forward, but actually do it. Most people won't actually do it. They just like to talk about it. The reason we like to talk about it because it makes us feel better when we actually fail. But when we fail, we freeze because now we're like, crap, I don't like the way it feels. I'm not going to use this as an opportunity for me to grow. I'm going to actually use it, or I'm going to allow it to hold me back. And those are actual conscious decisions that we have to make that sometimes we don't even know we have to make. And so we already talked a little bit about this, but if you're too closely connected to the successes and the failures, you are not going to be able to take the risks that you need to. And I think all of us can agree that if we get to a place in business, we got to take the risks. I mean, I go talk to people and reach out to people that I probably have no business talking to or reaching out to because I'm just not afraid of it. I'm just not. I just go do it because what if it was a great connection and it changed both of our lives in some positive way? And if I didn't ask, guess what? The answer is always no. If I put myself out there, then at least I get a chance to see. And so I don't worry about being rejected or failing because what I have confidence in is that I will start again. I will try in a different way and I'll recover and I'll learn from it. So where some people don't have the ability to disconnect from the successes and failures, I believe, at least in my thousands of hours of coaching, is that they don't truly inside feel competent, confident, and worthy or valuable. So when we talk about business as a conduit for personal growth, and I'm a firm believer, and actually I think we are so blessed in entrepreneurship. Anybody who's an entrepreneur, you guys, we get to go to work to grow ourselves. An innate human need is personal growth. In order for us to actually be happy, and I don't mean fleeting moments of happiness, like when you go buy that car, or for me, shoes, or whatever those little moments of happiness are for you. When you go to those moments, obviously those are temporary, those are fleeting. Many of us go to those moments because we don't actually feel like that inside on a regular basis. So we're trying to find it. The reason we don't have that inside of us is because we're not challenging ourselves. We're not growing ourselves. We're not pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone. You know, when you're the most happy and the most fulfilled as a human being is when you overcome something that you didn't think you could. But how many of you put yourself in that position on a daily or even a weekly or even a monthly basis? Most people don't ever put themselves in those positions because they listen to their subconscious mind. They say no because it's far too risky to put ourselves in that position. And then they have no internal joy or happiness. More importantly, they have no internal worthiness, self-trust, and self-confidence that they can actually show up and do things that they say they're going to do or that they can overcome. How do we know that we can if we never put ourselves in the position to do so? We don't know. So then over time, we look at our calendar that has a bunch of really cool things in it that we say that we're going to do that we never do. And that little by little, we actually build self-distrust. And that actually creates a lack of motivation, a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-joy, inner joy and peace and motivation, because we just don't have the confidence and the trust in ourselves as a human being that we need. So how do you then do it? And I have found for myself personally, this is all, by the way, a personal experiment, because I went through a very massive personal transformation after my personal life pretty much imploded after selling real estate for 11 years because I was extremely over-identified with my job and my career as a realtor. I made a lot of money and I spent it all because I was miserable. And I didn't grow myself and I didn't understand as an entrepreneur that I could be doing this and should be doing this. Therefore, a lot of the things that I wanted to be successful weren't. And I felt very unworthy. I felt very incompetent as a human being. I knew how to sell real estate and I didn't have the self-confidence or the self-trust or the self-joy. And so what happens, I tell you that because I worked on it for 6 years and literally changed my entire life. And I went so focused on my personal growth that I thought my business was going to implode. Like I was prepared for the opposite, and I was totally cool with it, by the way, because I didn't want to live the way I was living anymore. But what was magical about it is that I focused on my own personal growth and my own self-leadership and my own inner confidence and self-trust. And I put myself in positions to grow and to become a better human being. And guess what? My business exploded. I absolutely went forward in my business, and it has never stopped since. So this idea that my mind was telling me that you don't have time to work on yourself, you don't have time to go work out, you don't have time, you can't be everything to everyone, you've got to make money for your family, you've got to pay the bills, all of those subconscious thoughts that I believed as real things that eventually sabotaged my life were not true. And the exact opposite was true. I realized that people just need to understand that if they go to work working on themselves, not only do they have time to, they can't afford not to. And if they have the faith and they understand the correlation between you as a human being and your business, that your business can't grow past the extent that you do as a human being, you'll realize that part of your job is growing yourself. And when you do it, you're actually going to grow your business. That is a beautiful thing, because a lot of us in other roles, corporate America, where we have to show up and we don't have the ability and the time to, and the focus to actually grow ourselves, to grow our business. Now I look at that and go, man, that's sad, because as an entrepreneur, I get to do both simultaneously and know it's going to benefit me in both ways. And what a blessing that is. So personal growth, self-awareness, spiritual connectedness, whatever that might mean to you. I do believe we all have to believe that there's something bigger than ourselves. If we get too wrapped up in the physical and material world, it's really easy to make decisions that aren't the best for you and your family and your future. I've seen that too many times, and that can be whatever that means to you. But taking care of yourself physically, understanding who you are, the talents and strengths that you actually bring into the world, and then knowing how you can contribute just as a human being, and that you're willing to step out of comfort zones, you're willing to try new things, and you're willing to grow yourself. That is where you start to get what you need inside of you, so that you can actually be a better leader, so that you can actually be a better real estate agent and an entrepreneur and an investor and anything else that you might want to be. But you can only do this, and I firmly believe it, you can only do this by growing into the best version of yourself. So if your business is stuck today, I would implore you to stop looking for the business solution. And I would ask you to see what it is in your personal growth that maybe you're missing. Because I really don't believe there are business problems. I think there are personal problems that are showing up in our business every single day. And we keep trying to throw business solutions at a personal problem. And that's why it doesn't work. So we talked a little bit about the ego. And the ego is obviously, we think of something when we hear that word, but usually the ego is something completely different. I mean, the ego is probably more sabotaging to people, when it's telling you you're not worth things, and why should you go make this money, and who are you? And, you're not worthy of that, or there's no way that you would be able to do that. Look where you came from, or look at all the mistakes you made in your life. Why do you think that you should get this now? I mean, all of those conversations that we have that actually are detrimental. When we say ego, we think of the people that think all of, about themselves, and they think they know everything and they're the best. And in fact, the ego actually is much more detrimental on the other way. And usually the people that portray the ego out loud like that, it's actually trying to mask the insecurities that people have. And so the ego is much more a self-sabotaging mind, piece of our mind than anything else. And so when I say your ego holds you back from doing things in your own business, think today, like, where are you falling short? Where do you know that you're not stepping out of your comfort zone? And is that, lead generation? For many agents, it is. Is it hiring talent? Is it feeling that you're not a leader of sorts, or you don't have the leadership qualities like other people you see? You're not worthy of that. You've never done that before. Is it that, you don't deserve to make money? Is it, what is it? There are people that are just really afraid to make more money because they don't know what that will do to their relationships, and if their friends and family will think of them the same way, and that they'll lose those things. So they're okay staying small and playing small because they're worried about that. But I believe that we were put on the earth to, reach our fullest potential. And if we actually didn't listen to our ego part of our mind, what we would realize is happening is that when we play really big and we try those things, that we inspire other people around us to do it. The few people that can't get themselves to do those things, yeah, they might have some animosity, but if you stay authentic to that relationship, you probably can help them more than you know. So again, it's just choosing not to listen to the things that your brain says to you and choosing to actually make an active decision and choice because you know better. I think that is the big thing. So I have this saying that that you should be a goldfish. And I was told by a couple of people after reading an article, hey, Cari, you're a goldfish. Now we know who you are. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I have people around me that say, how do you just go do something and not worry about it? Like you just do it and you don't even think about it. You don't even care that people might be talking about you. You don't even care if you sound stupid. You don't care about anything. You just go for it and do it. How do you do that? And I think that the best way to describe it is that I heard a quote, the happiest animal, and I don't know if a goldfish is an animal, but this is the quote, the happiest animal on earth is a goldfish. Do you know why they are? And I didn't know. I said, no, why? Because they have the shortest memory. I loved it because in that moment I went, that's it. I am a goldfish. I don't let things linger. I don't think about them for more than about 2 seconds if it doesn't matter. It's just a moment in my life that I did something, tried something, had the conversation, made the phone call, whatever it is. It really doesn't matter. And I don't think about it anymore. Therefore, if I don't remember that something was embarrassing or something was a failure or something wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, if I don't remember it, it's not going to hold me back. The problem with the egoic part of the mind is it will literally replay things that have happened to us that made us feel bad. And when I say bad, it could have been sad, embarrassing, rejected, any of the negative emotions. By the way, we attach feelings to emotions. They just are what they are, but we say they're negative. So then that's how we think about them. When you felt bad, what the egoic part of the mind's role is to remind you constantly, remember when you felt like that? Oh, you don't want to feel like that again. That really sucked. Do not go do again what you did last time because you're going to feel the same way. And that is not how you want to feel. Remember, it's there to protect you, quote unquote, protect you. So we have to get good at having a very short-term memory when it comes to those things. Because if we don't really care or remember about those things, we're going to be much more willing to go and try it again. Those of us that allow those thoughts to perpetuate will be frozen in fear. We'll never go out there and try new things because we'll have way too many memories of things that didn't work out. I mean, gosh, if I thought about all the things that didn't work out in my life, I'd be frozen in my seat and I'd never go anywhere, right? And the other piece of it that I want to bring in that's not in this is I read a book and a quote in the book literally changed my life. And the book, by the way, in case you're interested, is called Personality Isn't Permanent. It's a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who is actually a friend of mine, a psychologist and just a great author. I was having an interview with him on Facebook Live a few years back. And the quote that was in the book that we discussed is, it doesn't matter what happened in your past as much as how you remember it. So who cares what actually occurred? What's actually going to matter is how you remember what occurred. And by the way, from a psychologist's standpoint, you already changed the way you remember things that happened in the past. So your mind is going to change things in your past already. When something good happens, it's actually going to make you remember it in a better way than was the reality. When something bad happened, your mind tends to make you remember it far worse than it was. And the reason it's doing that again is to try to guide you to more positive experiences and to keep you away from negative experiences because it's trying to psychologically protect you. So it all makes sense, right? So if we're already changing the way we remember things, our mind is subconsciously doing that. Why don't we choose how we remember the past? So my experience of the past is that I was a workaholic. I got divorced. I had a disconnection with my children and my parents. I was unhealthy. I was in a lot of debt. Oh, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? Right? I used to be embarrassed talking about it. but I'm not embarrassed talking about it anymore because number one, I know that secrets keep you sick. So I have to share with people what happened to me. But then the most important thing is I choose to remember that as an opportunity that came to me and an experience that I was given to go through so that I could help other people avoid it or not go through it as long as I did. And so that I could actually be a better version of myself today than I ever could be had that experience not happened. I know that to the core of my being. I would not be the spouse I am today. I would not be as spiritually connected to my faith as I am today. I would not have the relationships with my two sons and my stepsons the way I do today. I would not be in the same health. It just would not be possible because what I learned from that allowed me to change in the way that I am today so that I am who I am and I have what I have. So how I remember that is not bad anymore. I actually feel bad for myself in that version of me because that was a really tough time and the people that were in that time with me. And yet I now resolve to the fact that because I went through that, I have an obligation to be the best version of myself. And I have an obligation to make it right and to help other people. And that's why that happened to me. That's why that was an event in my life. And so now that I remember it that way, it isn't a bad event at all. But see, it's just a simple choice because I could still be beating myself up about that, embarrassed, feeling guilt, feeling shame. And I can tell you where I would be sitting in my life right now if that were the choice I made would be extremely different than what it is today. In fact, I'd probably be sitting in a home alone somewhere without a significant other, without relationships, and probably in really poor health. So it is that dramatically different. And I made one decision, how I remembered what happened to me. And every single person can make that same decision. So if you had a real estate team and it imploded, how many of us has that happened to? Most of us. They all just walked out and left. We had a brokerage and it completely was just like, boom, 10 agents gone at once. Many of us as leaders have gone through something like that. And it sounds like it really shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it is a big, big hit to the ego. When you pour into people and you think you're doing the right thing and you're trying your best and they're just gone. Not only is it an ego hit from a leadership and a business perspective, but quite frankly, probably more detrimental to your emotional state because you thought you had a relationship and you thought that there was some loyalty and now there's nothing. And I have coached people through these events to the point where it literally has debilitated them. And it could make them go into bankruptcy because they were so fearful to try that again because it was so painful and how they remembered it held them back so much. And so that one small thing, change the way you remember it, was what literally made them get into action to become a better person and do it differently this time and actually build their business at a much, much higher level because they made that one small choice. And so see these small choices that we actually make every single day that are just mindset, not really even mindset choices, more so what we think, more so what we listen to in our mind. Making those decisions can literally change the trajectory of our business and our life. So those are the types of things that I coach to, that I train to when we already know all the things we need to know in business and we're still not achieving what we need to achieve. Usually it boils down to these things. So as a quick recap, 95% of actions and decision-making are done subconsciously. I think I said 80% because I'm trying to be conservative, but honestly, most of our life is lived subconsciously. And so in order to take control of your life, your business, your decisions, and to be able to actually start reaching some potential that you know you have to figure out how to move into consciousness. And this isn't airy-fairy stuff. This is an actual scientific thing. You have to realize I'm not conscious in most of my day, and I have to force myself into a conscious action or decision. And it's just a habit you create, just like anything else that you've created as a habit in your life. So you have to start making conscious, active decisions. How do you do it? So the first step for most people, and this was my own journey, was first you have to be aware of this whole concept. Like I had no idea I was subconscious. I had no idea that I was listening to my mind and my thoughts, and I thought they were real. I didn't know. I was just living how I thought I needed to live until a coach actually said to me, Cari, when are you going to start living your actual life and stop living your mind? And I was like, what? Holy crap. You know, your thoughts aren't real things, right? You're literally listening to your thoughts as if they are real things. They are not real things. You're not making one active decision. You're not living your life at all. You're just listening to what your mind is telling you, and it's just things. It's not real. And I had no clue. It blew my mind. I was like, what? Well, I thought that what I was thinking was real because I had grabbed that information from something. The truth is, it's not true. So the first step of anything is becoming aware of it. If you don't know what you don't know, you don't know. So become aware. So hopefully today, if you weren't aware of this, you are now. Number two is in the moment, you've got to now start realizing you have to move into consciousness. So you can start putting little signs, little triggers around you. And that's what I did, which was just to constantly remind myself. I had some screensavers on my phone and on my computer. I had some alarms throughout the day. I was just trying to like ask myself questions like, are you in an active choice right now? Are you making a decision, or are you just listening to your mindset? Are you just going through the motions? It was just a massive awareness shift for me. And it took some time, but I started to realize, gosh, almost all the time, I'm like just doing things that I don't even realize what I'm doing. So the more aware I became, the more that I was able to make those changes. I also had to accept the reality of who I was and where I was. It doesn't help us to beat ourselves up for what we were yesterday or 5 minutes ago. We didn't know any better. I have a firm belief that every single person on this earth is doing the best that they know how. I just believe it. I fundamentally believe that if we think it's the right decision, whether it is or not, we're doing the best we can with what we have and what we know. And sometimes we just don't even know what we don't know. So don't beat yourself up. Like, it isn't what it is, but today you know something different. So now I feel like you have an obligation to do something different if you realize that the way you're living or doing your business isn't serving you to the highest potential. So question your thinking is the step 3. So I had to realize that what I was thinking was not real. And I really believed my thoughts. Like, I fundamentally believed them. When my mind would tell me, Cari, you have to go to that showing. You have a relocation buyer. They just called you. They want to see that house. I don't care if you have your son's baseball game. You have to go or you're going to lose that client. And you know how much money that's going to be out of your family's pocket? That's what my mind was telling me. I believed it to the core of my being. I set the appointment. I went to the showing. I didn't go to the gate. Okay. I did it all the time. I believed in that moment what my mind told me to be true. I didn't question it. Therefore, I did it subconsciously and then I regretted it. Okay. I'm sure we've all done that. What I had to start doing is questioning those thoughts. So when that thought came into my head, I had to ask myself, okay, my brain is telling me that I'm going to lose this client. I'm going to lose $15,000. I need the money to pay the bills. I can't say no to go to the Suns game. I can't try to do a different time. They're going to get mad and they're going to leave me as their agent. There's too much competition out there. You haven't built enough rapport with them, Cari. You got to do it. I had to ask myself, okay, well, if that could be true, and it could be, could the exact opposite of that be just as true, which is that they would be okay and they'd wait for a half an hour, they'd be able to get off work a little early, or they'd be okay until tomorrow? And not 100% of the time, the answer is always going to be, well, yeah, it could be that, but it could be this too. Could be either. So when you start questioning your thinking, what you do is you take yourself out of a subconscious irrational thought that's going to make you do something that you don't want to do, that isn't an active decision. And it's going to make you think differently and go, wait, okay, now I'm in a choice situation here that I'm conscious and I can think as a human being, and I can go ask them if we could meet a little bit earlier because I already have a previous appointment scheduled. I want to accommodate you as much as possible. I know you're in out of town, but I have another client at that time. Is there any possible way we could do it here, here, here? I will be very accommodating to you if you would be able to accommodate me. Would 99% of the time that client say yes? Of course they would. But that's not what your mind tells you in the moment. And if you don't stop and think it through and question it, you won't always realize that. So when you find that the thought is not real, you learn this by questioning it and you realize it's just a thing, then you'll stop listening to it. And then you'll be making more conscious decisions and choices in the moments because you're going to create that habit. And you're actually going to overcome the strong muscle that is the ego part of the mind. You need to move past fear. You need to move into faith, and you need to take massive action. And you need to be willing to do the hard work, which is your own self-growth. So I will tell you, I've run very, very large real estate teams. I've done lots of things professionally that a lot of people would say, wow, that sounds really hard. The hardest job that I've ever done is go through my own personal growth and personal transformation. It's the hardest work. It's also the more fulfilling. And I promise you, if you go to work in that way, not only will you be happier, but you will be much, much more successful, and you'll probably not have to work as hard in business. So you just have to pick, where you want to work hard. The last part of this is exercising your faith muscle. I think that when you move into a conscious decision making, oftentimes you don't know the outcome. You know that there's going to be failures. You are aware that you're in an uncomfortable spot. Your ego is being threatened. And, that's not an easy place. If it was, everybody do it, we wouldn't be in this conversation at all. And it's in this moment that you have the opportunity to have, to lean into your faith, to overcome this fear. And I always talk about a faith muscle because it's easy to relate to building actual muscle, which is that, you've got to exercise it in order for it to become stronger, in order for you to be able to lean into your faith more than your fear, or to lean in your faith more than the discomfort that you're facing when your ego part of your mind is telling you not to do something, or when you're having to make that phone call, or when you're taking that risk in business. Because the reality is that it all works out. And people always ask me, well, how do you know it all works out? Well, because whatever happens is what was supposed to happen. And why do I know that? Because it did. I mean, that's just as simple as it is. So we think we're in control. The reality is we're not in control at all. It is going to happen the way it's going to happen, whether we try to control it, whether we try to resist it, whether we try to stay safe or not. Sometimes we just actually make it harder, and we go roundabouts until we get there, when sometimes it'd just be better just to let it happen the way it's supposed to, grow through it, and actually get to the end result much faster. So it's one step at a time, and it is executing on things you wouldn't do before because you stayed in your safe zone due to that ego thought that you believed. And when you do that one thing and you realize, oh, my client didn't fire me, I still made $15,000 and I went to my son's baseball game. Oh, I did that call, and even though they rejected me, I made the second call, and that was a huge connection. I reached out to that person and they actually might want to work with me. Like, the reality is we don't have any of those positive affirmations coming to us because we don't do the things to bring them to us. Right. And so little by little, when you do that, obviously it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in a positive way. And that's what we need to get in our life. Right now, you are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy when you say that whenever I make those cold calls, I always get yelled at. I never convert anything. Right. So let's say that's what the mind is telling us. And the mind's telling you that to try to get you to not make those phone calls because it's uncomfortable and it's not fun when you get rejected. So you go into your calls with a negative energy that you're just going to get rejected anyway, and nobody's going to convert. So how do you think you're showing up to those people on the other side of the phone? Energetically, what do you think you're actually putting out there? And so then everybody's like not attracting to you. You're not converting anything. And then you go, see, why do I even make these calls anyway? Because nobody ever converts. You're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you started your phone calls and say, okay, you know what? I'm up for this. I'm up for the rejection. I'm trying to get one yes. I don't care about the rest of the no's. I know there's somebody out there that needs my help, and I need to make these calls to find that person. And you go in there with that sort of an attitude, and you find your one person, and then you leave that call and you go, see, there was somebody that needed my help. That is the self-fulfilling prophecy too. There was nothing different than with the activity that you did, other than how you started out with your thinking, which led to how you felt about what you were doing, which led to the action that you took and the energy that you placed in that action, which led to a different result. You choose your thoughts, you will choose the result that you want, but you have to choose your thoughts. And we're not choosing the right thoughts most of the time. That's why we're getting the result we don't want. And remember, you will find whatever it is you seek. Your brain is a very, very strong muscle. If you're looking to be rejected, if you're looking to not have any conversions, if you're looking to have bad conversations with these dang cold calls that you hate making, but you just think you have to because you're in real estate, if you're looking for those agents that come in and suck the life out of you and don't bring any good culture, if you're looking for a lack of money because you focus on your bank account that doesn't have how much you want, I promise you, you will find more of what you're looking for. I promise you, because your mind, if you study the mind, scientifically speaking, what you put into it, you will find more of. So be careful what you say to yourself. I don't have enough money. Your brain doesn't differentiate between I have money, I don't have money. It says money. Okay. So you need to go look for what it is that you want more of, not focus on what you don't have, because you're just going to keep perpetuating more of what you don't have if that's what you want. If you want more bad calls, think about having more bad calls. If you want to go help somebody in your calls today, think about that. Promise you, you'll find the person that needs your help. You've got to be able to control your mind and be willing to wake up every single day going into that battle. It is a battle. I believe it. I've been doing this. I've been on this journey of growth for almost 9 years now. I wake up every day realizing my mind is going to try to self-sabotage me. I'm going to have anxiety. I'm going to have negative thoughts. I'm going to feel unworthy. I'm going to have fear. I'm going to have all those things every day. Has not stopped yet. I'm better at overcoming that really quickly because I've been doing this for a while, but it's a battle that I know I have to actually be willing to take on every single day. This is not a job that ends. This is a job that you subscribe to because you want to be the best version of yourself and you want to have a better quality of life and business. And you just decide. Who you are being is more important than what you're doing, you guys. Take an assessment on a daily basis over the course of the next couple of weeks if you have time. I think this is a great exercise to do in the new year. There's some great questions. You can take a picture of this, or I'm sure it's live streamed so you can watch this later. But what are you doing and how is it making you feel? Okay, those are questions you should be asking yourself. Just set some timers on your phone, and in that moment, ask yourself these questions. What are you doing and why are you doing it? Are you purposeful right now? Are you intentional and are you focused, or are you super not present? Which, by the way, we live most of our lives in a very not present state as well. So we need to stop and ask ourselves in this moment, what are we? Are you distracted and just doing it because you think you should? And how long are you doing it? You need to reassess. We all have enough time. It's how we use our time that matters. You should rethink your calendar. You should consider work-life integration instead of work-life balance. There is no such thing. Don't set yourself up for failure for something that doesn't exist. There's no balance. There's integration. Sometimes you're going to be out of balance and you're going to be hanging out with your family because they need you more. And sometimes you're going to be working a bit more because you need to. But if you can always be integrating both things on a weekly basis to some degree, then you're doing good. So don't set yourself up for failure saying, I need to have this balance and I don't, and so I suck. I did that for 10 years. Well, of course I sucked because it wasn't even a real thing. It was impossible. I was trying to do something impossible and then I felt bad that I couldn't do it. When I realized, number one, I need to be present. Number two, I need to be focused and intentional. And number three, I don't need hours to do it. It changed my freaking life because I thought I had to have hours with my children to have good relationships. I thought I had to have hours in the gym to be fit. I thought I had to have hours in my business to be successful. I thought I had to do it all and then I couldn't, and then I gave up and I felt like a failure. Then I realized, wait, no. Number one, the reason why you need a lot of time, Cari, is because you're not focused, you're not purposeful, and you surely aren't present. So yeah, you do need freaking hours because you're sitting next to your kids and you're not even connected to them. Yeah, you need hours of lead gen because you're missing tons of opportunities because while you're talking to this person, you're thinking about the next appointment. You're not even there in the conversation. It was a massive aha for me. Because I kept complaining I didn't have enough time and I couldn't be everything to everyone and I couldn't do it all. And then I realized, yes, I could. I just needed to be, number one, clear on my priorities. Number two, efficient, effective, and present with my time. And then number three, I needed to reassess it constantly to make sure that I was on the right path. It changed everything. I started to do 15 minutes with my kids right before they went to bed, one-on-one. No cell phone, no distraction. And I mean, no distraction in my mind, like blanking everything else out. No thoughts about work, what I had to do when they went to sleep, nothing. It was a heart to heart, soul to soul, eye to eye. I love you. This is moving the needle forward in our relationship time. One date night for 30 minutes a week with my spouse. If we didn't talk all week because we were busy with the kids and work, that 30 minutes with no cell phones, no in my mind distractions, 100% full attention and intentionality with that person, move the needle forward more than I ever thought it could. You guys, 15-minute walk around the block with my dogs every day made me lose weight. What is the connection here? Intentional, purposeful, consistent, present. If you do that, you do not need as much time as you think. I've seen people shave off hours of lead generation in their schedule every single week because they change this one thing. They go in with an attention, they go in present, nothing else distracts them. They make their calls, they crush it, they find their appointment. It used to take them half a day because you guys, they weren't doing it they were sitting there half a day. They were all over the place, checking email, on the phone, distracted, going up and down. Of course it's taking 5 hours. No. Just stop it. Go do it for 45 minutes, get your appointment and go on with your life. And that's when my time mindset shifted and I literally felt like I could do it. It's when I felt like I actually could do this. I could be a good parent. I could be a good spouse. I could be a good leader. I could be a good real estate agent. I didn't have to choose because I did have enough time. I just had to be thinking about it differently. Again, how you think about it made a massive change. And then I started rethinking my calendar and I integrated everything and I became happier and I became more successful. So it is that priority management versus time management. So if you can write out your top priorities in your life, that includes your personal growth and then your business, that's when you can start looking at your calendar and going, okay, I can integrate these things. I can take 15 minutes every day for this. I can take an hour every week for this. I might take 1 weekend a month for this if I have to. Adopt the belief that you can integrate all things successfully because you can. And then you have to just break down your days, your weeks accordingly. Less time is needed if it's purposeful and intentional. So think in shorter time blocks, bursts, if you will, that make a greater impact. And that is probably the secret sauce to that. And I've helped people restructure their entire calendars. You know, another thing that I like to bring these moments of clarity to people, if you haven't heard anything that has been a big aha for you today, maybe this will. I've also was asked by my same coach at one point, you know, what is the most important to you? Like in your life, what's the most important? And of course, I said, my family, my kids, I want to have financial security so I'm not stressed out. We need a place to live. And, you know, I was very nervous about that, which is why I worked so much, but it was for my family. It was because I loved my kids dearly. It was, you know, my one son had a lot of health issues when he was younger. And so it was like all of these things. And he said, I believe you. I believe that that's what it is. But when I look at your bank account and when I look at your calendar, it doesn't match. And it was such an aha moment for me because he was right. It didn't match. So what we say and what we believe doesn't always translate in how we act. The reason is because I wasn't making active choices. I was making subconscious choices. They were not in alignment with what I truly believed. So if you look in your calendar and if you look in your bank account today and they don't match what your true priorities in your life are, then that's the key, that you aren't making your active choices. You're not making decisions. You're just listening to your thoughts and you're doing what the thoughts tell you to do. But this is the aha today, is that you don't have to keep doing that. If you keep doing that, you're probably going to lose those things that are the most priority to you. I know because that was a close call for me. So business success comes through personal growth. How are you growing yourself in 2023? We've all done business plans. Most of us haven't thought about how we're going to grow ourselves. There's a great book called Living Forward by Michael Hyatt. I would highly recommend it if you listen to Audible. It's really short. I think within 2 runs, I had that book done in the Audible, but it's a really, really big book that talks about life planning alongside business planning. There's some great exercises. If you're a leader, I would implore you to go talk to your agents or those that you work with and help them to develop a life plan because if they develop a life plan, they will always be more successful in business, and it's advantageous to you as a leader as well as to them. It's also how you impact the lives of people, because we try to help people make more money in business, and we believe that's our legacy. Like, we can help more people have a better quality of life and make more money in business and in real estate or whatever it is we're doing. Like, we're doing the right thing as a leader, and we are, because of course we need money to live, and money is good for the good that will do. However, if it is at the expense of their life plan, then it's not good, right? So you can do both, and you should do both. You will have the most retention and the most productivity from those that work with you if you help them build a life plan alongside their business plan. And in that book, he explains that a lot. And that was a big aha for me in my leadership and what we have done in our world since then. Okay, so I'd love to hear a couple of things. Any ahas? What limiting beliefs are showing up for you that you kind of had come forth? What do you think you need to do to grow the business that you actually want? Anything that I could answer for you, I would love to in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cari. That was amazing. A lot of, oh, there. A lot came up for me as far as just the, limiting thoughts of what is holding me back. Yeah, I have probably, like a lot of people, I have this struggle, I think, with social media, and getting myself out there, especially on like a personal level. So, yeah, there's so much to unpack in your presentation, and I really appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have questions that they want to jump in? Feel free to jump in right now if you do. We are live on Facebook as well. I am going to put all of Cari's information in our Facebook feed, so you can look through the comments and you can reach out to her. I will put her information in there, and you can contact her about coaching personally. I love it.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and look too. If people watch this later and there are some comments, I can go in and answer those questions, because I know I'm in your Facebook group as well. So I'll make sure that I do that. Because if it's anything like my group, people watch it later too and might have a comment. But I would love to hear anybody that has a comment or an aha, because I think if you share that, it might be something that benefits somebody else. So don't be shy if in fact you heard something that stood out to you today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cari, I just wanted to say thank you. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of you and your work, and I so appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with us today. I think this is a really timely conversation as agents are, thinking about their 2023 business plan and all of the strategies and tactics that they want to employ. And I so appreciate you bringing this conversation to light, because you're so right. I think all the strategies and tactics in the world are not going to be worthwhile or fruitful if we are in a mindset of scarcity and fear-based thinking. And so I really appreciate the conversation. There's so many different parts of your story that I resonated with as well. I know we had some love in the comments on Facebook. I think really, Cari, you just really spoke to a lot of us of, the challenges of being an agent and the sacrifices that we go through. I think we've all kind of been in that situation where it's like family time, or take this call, or show the property, or write the offer. And it's this, I feel like it's like a counterbalance, right? And I think sometimes I've justified with my family of well, this call could be $50,000. That might be our summer trip. So give me a break here. And you're so right. I think that you can really have it all, but it starts with prioritizing what's important to you. I also appreciated that. I think when you gave the soccer game analogy, you said that you had another appointment. And so I use that as well. I'm it might be an appointment with my family, but I say, oh, I have another appointment, or I have another meeting at that time. I'm so sorry. Here's other times that will work for me, right? When I'm not with my family. And so you gave so many, oh my gosh, so many great nuggets in there. And I would love to see agents start having this conversation, as opposed to the strategies and tactics and what CRM is the best, what lead sources are most fruitful for 2023. It's we need to be having this conversation. So
yeah, because you're not using your CRM.
No,
You're not. So it
no.
doesn't matter which CRM it is, right?
Exactly.
But I remember you speaking to us in Coeur d'Alene not too long ago, and you had the, why are we waiting to, for an example, work really hard and not have a quality of life and not do the things that we want to and not live our lives. We wait till retirement and then we might not have the opportunity. And I've heard so many stories of that. You know why that is because our mind is telling us we don't have the time to do it.
Yes.
It's not possible. We can't have both. We need to wait for retirement. And it really just literally is listening to those thoughts instead of stopping and saying, no, I'm not going to listen to that. It's not true. I can do it. I just have to figure out a way to do it. But most people don't realize that thought isn't a real thing. They just believe it and they move on with their life in that belief system. And I think that we need to just be willing to realize that our belief system, our subconscious mind isn't always right. And there are other ways, and we've got to be open to that. When we start becoming open to that, we can make different choices and we can literally change the trajectory of our whole life. You've done it, Jennifer, right? And it's not easy. You had to move past scarcity and fear and all the things, I'm sure, to do it. And it's really just a matter of if we're willing to do that or not, or isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it helped. If you guys are leaders, this is the type of conversation I hope that you'll be willing to bring to your agents because they aren't hearing it that much. But when they do, it can literally unlock something in them that helps them to change. And so if there's any way that I can help you, if you've got a brokerage and you want me to come in and speak, I love it. This brings me a lot of joy. I time block to do this stuff. I do it for free. I do it because selfishly, I feel like it's what I've been put on the earth to do, to pay it forward to some degree. And usually it helps at least one person and then it's worth my time. So Jennifer and Mariah, thank you guys for giving me the space to do it. You have an amazing community. I'll make sure I go back in there and comment or answer any questions. And if you guys need anything, you know where to reach me. Tim, thanks for hanging in here the whole time, by the way.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a great start to your new year. Hopefully I'll see you around soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Cari.
Bye.
Bye.